we really have not so much a meritocracy, we have an opportunity ghost. Because the people who we're talking about are getting jobs that aren't going to be here tomorrow. They're getting jobs in retail. They're getting jobs at fast food restaurants. These jobs are going to disappear. Robotics and automation will have these jobs gone within 20 years. So you have an opportunity ghost because they're being employed into nowhere. Making matters worse, and this is the real insult, Abraham Lincoln created this bank called the Freedmen's Bank to teach free slaves about money, and he was killed. So we never got a lesson in a memo on free enterprise and capitalism. We're not dumb or stupid. It's what we don't know that we don't know. So as a result of that, 44% of all African Americans have a credit score below 620. Now, that may not sound real relevant, except you can't get a small business loan below 620.
So what are you doing to increase people's credit score?
We're basically a private banker for the working class. So we lean into their lives. Most people who have a low credit score have an error on your credit score. The first thing we do that the banker can't is to help you challenge that with the credit bureaus. When we do that and we challenge it and they remove it, which they're required to do, your credit score goes up 40 points. So what happens to your self-esteem and your confidence when your credit score goes from 580 to 620? Your shoulders come back, your neck. Now you're ready to lean into the free enterprise system. So now we got you. Now you're ready to deal with the other issues. We get you up to 680, 700. Now you're part of the game. Now you're not black, you're green, as in the color of U.S. currency.
Do the banks embrace what you're doing? Do you work closely with them on this?
Yeah, in fact, SunTrust Banks has ordered 200 Hope Insides. Regions Bank has ordered 100 Hope Insides. JP Morgan Chase has ordered 5 Hope Insides. We're in 40 different banks as well as major employers. This is sort of what health wellness was a decade ago. It's
but it's not just something they're doing out of the goods of their hearts. This is something
we're
where
creating customers.
You create customers, and these customers are worthwhile for
But I don't want them doing out of the good of their heart.
Right.
I like that they're noble. I'd prefer that this is good business, right? This is not just being a PhD, but a PhD too. This is doing well and doing good. At scale, 100 million Americans have a blemish,
right,
and they're locked out of the free enterprise, including poor whites.
Why does the law prevent the banks from doing it themselves?
Great question, Andrew. So because of discrimination, because of redlining in the civil rights era, the banks were really discriminating back then. So now they must, in response to that, take every application that walks in the front door and can't tell you what they know. You're never going to be approved. They can look at your credit report when they walk in, this will never work. But they can't tell you for fear of being sued, so they must treat everybody the same. We lean in 20 feet from them and say, that credit report was like a bus accident, and we can help you fix it.
But so is there a problem with how the credit agencies are pulling these scores together in the first place? I mean, you're saying you're arbitrarily boosting certain people's once you address it, but should this not be solved at source?
Well, we're not boosting it. The client's boosting it. We're helping them empower themselves.
But is there a systemic problem within the credit rating agencies themselves about how they're assigning these credit scores? Because if there's an error on as many of these reports as we're talking about here, it seems to me that there's a larger problem.
Yeah, there's a huge problem, including the fact that you don't get credit for good things like paying rent, paying auto loans, paying utility bills. These are all forms of credit, but you don't get credit for them. But by the way, don't be late for it. They'll get flipped, and then you'll be dinged for it. So yeah, there's a lot of problems.
So
you don't have time for that on this show.
What have you seen about other financial services companies? I'm thinking of like a firm and some of these new companies that are out there that are trying to create their own credit scores effectively with different types of algorithms, looking at different types of information. You talk about people just paying certain types of bills. Is the credit score unto itself the most accurate representation of people's financial health?
I mean, it does indicate whether you pay your bills or not. Now, it is a little biased toward people like us who have resources. And I say us because this is not racial. This is about class, not race. This is about civil rights, not civil rights. But we can pay off a credit card before we go for an application because of our income flexibility. If you work at the post office or you're a teacher, you may not have that flexibility. So it is biased, if you want to say it, against that person. But I think it's unintentionally biased, but it still hurts the same. These firms you're talking about are doing what I call bougie finance, a lot of them. They're serving a higher income population of young people coming up through college who they're trying to track as a new customer. I'm trying to rehabilitate 100 million Americans who could be boosting GDP, and we're opening 126 Hope Inside locations inside of mostly bank branches, but other places too, to really give the economy that extra boost. 500 are scheduled by 2020.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.